Will democracy survive the next couple of years?
Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org. Edina Eye Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years now, in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services and dedicated specialists committed to excellence, with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Welcome to Access to Democracy, the program that has brought you interesting guests featuring fascinating stories and important information for more than 22 years. I am Bill Raker, guest host for this edition of the program. Today, we welcome back a repeated guest, Lisa Jemtrud from the Better Business Bureau of Minnesota and North Dakota. Lisa, welcome back to Access to Democracy.
Thanks, Bill. Happy to be here.
Let me tell our viewers a little bit more about you, Lisa. Lisa is the Vice President of Community Relations and Outreach with the Better Business Bureau of Minnesota and North Dakota. Lisa provides overall management and leadership of the Better Business Bureau Foundation, the charitable education arm of the BBB, as well as the Community Relations Division for Better Business Bureau of Minnesota and North Dakota. Serving the Better Business Bureau mission for over 2 decades, her work has included combating misleading advertising, investigating unethical business practices, and training consumers of all ages on how to spot scams. Lisa holds a master's degree in administration of justice with an emphasis in alternative dispute resolution and white-collar crime from the Southern Illinois University. She is past president of the Society of Consumer Affairs Professionals, the Minnesota chapter. She is a 2018 graduate of the Leadership Twin Cities, a program of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce, and she chairs the Coalition Against Marketplace Fraud and partnership with regional law enforcement. And today's theme, the focus, is on how the Better Business Bureau benefits consumers, especially in the area of fraud and scams. So this is a great topic for you, Lisa, as you chair the Coalition Against Marketplace Fraud. So can you tell us, begin by telling us about that coalition?
Thank you. That's a great question. So at the Better Business Bureau, we know we can't go it alone to learn about the scams in the marketplace, and we need to partner with those who are also contributing in this work. And so with that, we formed a partnership about 12 years ago and in an ongoing fashion with local, state, and federal law enforcement and government officials. So it is a special collaboration between BBB and law enforcement. And what we do, we meet quarterly, although there is some back and forth in between those times when something major is happening. But it's designed to share information. BBB learns a lot from consumers, as do some of the other agencies, but this way we can information share to make it really efficient for everyone. BBB also does our own investigations, and we can provide that to law enforcement. because we're a nonprofit, we can't arrest anyone. We can't take those legal steps. So that's why we have the collaboration, and it works really well for consumers. The end goal is to address the scams, get the information out there to consumers quickly, find the perpetrators as fast as we can, and get them shut down. And there's a lot of people that that BBB wants to thank that's in that workspace.
Well, this is great, and we want to talk about how the Better Business Bureau and the coalition that it works with benefits consumers. Now, the Better Business Bureau consists of qualified businesses as its membership. So how does the consumer fit into this, and how is that part of the Bureau's mission?
I love being able to answer this question because I think people think of BBB like, oh yeah, I know BBB, but then it's a little hard to describe how it works. So the Better Business Bureau is comprised of a business membership base. So we're one of the largest business associations in the Upper Midwest with about 7,000 BBB accredited businesses. They support and subscribe to BBB's mission. Part of that includes annual dues to the BBB. That's how we support our programs and services. Like a chamber or a trade association, we have business members. But part of that is really unique about BBB. You don't just join Better Business Bureau. We have a background check. You have to be vetted. There are like 70 some things that we're checking before a business can be part of the BBB. And we also revoke accreditation from businesses if they don't abide by our standards for trust. So there is a contract that the business needs to follow to be part of BBB. With that, on the consumer side, all programs and services are free to consumers, made possible by these business members who want to promote trust in the marketplace. So the consumers get the benefit of the programs and services that we provide to the public. And that's really nice for consumers that businesses actually band together in this way, shoulder to shoulder, to say, let's do this right for consumers and for themselves to have a healthy and safe economy.
Well, that's a great service that the Better Business Bureau has available for consumers. So how does a consumer learn about these benefits and get in a position where they can take advantage of the service that you provide for them?
Yes. So at the BBB, there's a few main reasons why a consumer would come to BBB. So these are the main services that they'd get. Dispute resolution. So if a consumer has a problem with a business, we help. We have a whole team of trained conciliation, mediation, arbitration service providers right here on site, staff members at BBB who will help resolve that dispute. That's a main service that we provide. Another one is helping consumers make their buying decision before they've committed to a company. So we say, check before you buy. You look up a company on bbb.org. It's a nice space bar, kind of like it looks like when you do a Google search. You type in the company name. You can read the BBB's profile on the company. It's what we know based on our research and what consumers and businesses have told us about the company and the marketplace. We rate them A to F. And it's all very transparent about why they have the grade that they have, what are the factors that go into it. You can read the complaints, you can read the company's responses, if there's government actions on the business, if they have issues with their advertising, et cetera. So that's another main reason why consumers would use BBB. They can access all of that and a bunch of other things at bbb.org. And then also they can call us. We have a resource center where people pick up the phone and call us and ask questions all day long. So that's another feature that some people absolutely prefer, that way of connecting.
Yeah, that's great. These efforts are intended to help consumers to not become a victim of an unethical business.
Mhm.
But is there a way that you differentiate between a scam or a fraud and a business that's just overcharging or have bad service?
It's such a good question that we wrestle with too. I'm really hesitant to label many companies, oh, that's a fraud, that's a scam practice, because sometimes we have well-meaning people who just make mistakes. They have poor customer service practices. They didn't incorporate ethics into their business plan. They've had poor hires. The list goes on and on where good people and good intentions go awry. So what BBB does is we try to dig through all of that for the consumer. So we're the ones that are spending the time looking into if this is really a scam, or if this is a company with a bad business practice. If it's a legitimate company with some bad business practices, we are there as a helping hand to try to improve that. So we're looking at patterns of complaints. What is it, the same problem that's happening over and over? Then there's a glitch. The company, in some cases, we tell the company and they don't even know. Sometimes you have a wild salesperson who is saying and doing unreasonable things, or it runs a wide gamut. But we go there directly to the business and work with them to try to improve the practice. Some things are very scammy though, and I'd like to offer this to viewers and listeners today, that there is something to be said for instinct. If something doesn't feel right to you, there's often a reason for that. Use BBB to double check. Take time before you make a decision. Research, call us, let us give some tips. We've been around for over 100 years. There's a reason why. We're really effective at being able to help consumers navigate what is or isn't legitimate.
Well, you've done a great job of distinguishing between an outright fraud or scam and sometimes business practices that may get off the rails a little bit, but maybe unintentionally. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the more prevalent, rampant, pernicious scams that the BBB is tracking right now?
There are so many, Bill. It's just, well-meaning, honorable, wholesome, hardworking people don't live in the land of scams. But the staffers at BBB, we live in the land of scams every day. So it's really easy to get paranoid about what's out there. There are things to be wary of. Here are some that are at the top of our list right now. Online scams is huge. This is partially how the marketplace was moving anyway, with people doing more and more business online with entities that aren't local. But during COVID, where it ramped up so much with more people doing more of their business online, it's easy for scammers to go where the money is. That's what they do. Fake websites, fake products, fake services, people giving out their credit cards to unknown entities, losing their identity. Within that realm of online scams, though, there's two in particular I could mention here that I think makes sense for this audience and, July 2021. Pet scams are really high. There are a lot of fake entities out there selling dogs, cats, exotic pets, and there are elaborate stories and reasons around how much it needs to cost for shipping and special circumstances. And people get very emotional about their pets. I don't know if you have a pet, Bill. I do. I have a dog. But you get very emotional about your pets. And when people are emotional, they lose their minds. And they fall in love with pictures and stories about the animal that they think they're getting. And people are giving tons of money to fake entities that never had the animal, and you will never get it. So I encourage people to check with BBB first about pet scams in particular. We have tips on how to check to see if an entity is legit. And we know some of this is person to person, and that is often fraught with danger as well. So we are really concerned about pet scams. The other one we're really concerned about is romance scams. They have a lot in common with pet scams because it hits the emotional chord again for the consumer. You strike up a relationship online. And, before it, you might think that's just dating sites, but it's so much bigger than that. There are a lot of chat rooms and hobby websites and fan websites where you're interacting with people, and these, romances begin, but they're never intended to be real. And the goal always is to end up getting money from the person once they've built some trust up. And those are particularly devastating because it's both a financial toll and an emotional toll on the victim.
Well, that's great that you put the spotlight on the online scams and how people can become victimized by them. Maybe let's explore a couple of other areas of scams. As travel is beginning to free up again, and people have been, locked down for how many months? 18, 19 months now, and the opportunity to go out and travel again is really inviting. But we need to be very careful because there are a lot of scammers working in that area. Do you have some examples?
Yeah, actually, in fact, we were just learning about a scam, and they're really imposter scams. They're just using travel as the topic of the day. Because as you say, Bill, people are excited to get out there. They're moving around more now. In fact, somebody called it a revenge travel the other day. And I love that phrase because it's like, you're just so mad at COVID. You're like, I'm going out there now. I'm going somewhere. But with that, consumers are consumers. We look for good deals. And when we do that, we get excited about airline tickets that are low cost. Often when that happens, it is too good to be true. And we see people victimized just this last week, where it looks like it's Delta or another, one of the big airlines. It looks like it's from them. You put in your credit card information, you select your tickets and times. You even get a really nice official looking confirmation, but it's not real. It's not real. It's an imposter scam. So when you're buying, be very careful. Use the legitimate websites and not the little pop-ups that come on your computer that people get, or like these sponsored ads that pop up in your social media feeds. There are some that are legitimate, but we see so many that have problems and are fake companies. So I really caution people about that. You can also double check. So if all of a sudden you feel weird about the ticket you just bought, call your airline directly and verify that you actually are at that time and that date on that seat for that price. Because sometimes our consumers get calls from the scammers afterwards, and they start upping the price. Like, oh, this is the price, but now there's an additional baggage fee, and now there's this, and now there's this, and people are paying it, and it's false.
Well, there's a scammer out there after everyone that they can catch in their net, and that's for sure. So good advice about being cautious about traveling. And before we leave the COVID pandemic situation, I know we've experienced and talked about, you have and other organizations as well, like AARP, scams related to the COVID-19 virus. Are there some of those scams that are lingering on, even though hopefully we're moving beyond the peak of the virus, although the Delta variant make it different for us? But any lasting kinds of things from the COVID scams that the Bureau is focused on?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some of them just seem to persist. I think there are still phone calls, emails going out to more at-risk populations saying, You're required to have a vaccination and it's for this amount of money. And people who don't know the whole story, they get afraid about what they need to do to hurry and take care of it or to pay for it. And that's not how it works. Then there's the use of scare tactics. That's been happening throughout the whole pandemic, anything from getting your personal protective equipment and that you need this, and this, and then you buy the item and it doesn't come or it doesn't do the things that it says it's going to do. That's another area of concern. And frankly, we're still looking at fake medical claims about, if you get it, you should use this treatment, or if you do this instead, you won't get it. And those are just, none of that is proven yet. And it's really tricky. We've been working on that with various law enforcement groups. I know Federal Trade Commission has been working hard on some of the medical claims in particular, and they've got some good stuff on their website on that topic.
Well, we hope that none of our listeners, viewers, or anyone falls victim to any one of these scams or others of the hundreds or thousands of them that are out there. But if one does become a victim, or they think they have been victimized, or they know somebody who has fallen victim, what should they do? What advice do you offer for them?
Well, there's two things. The first thing I would say is don't feel bad. I think just on the emotional side of it, we're all humans. Things happen, and the scam artists are excellent. They are excellent. They are very professional. They know exactly what to say. They've done all the research. They have fantastic technical equipment. Scams affect every age group, every household income, every level of education. We're just not immune to it. So if it has happened to you or a loved one, I want to try to pull some of the, if there is like shame or embarrassment related to that, we just want to take that away. So that's my first recommendation. Second is please report it. Because even if we or law enforcement or local police, et cetera, can't get your money back, what you're doing by sharing your story and explaining what happened and providing some details allows all of the folks that are working on this to track the patterns, find who started it, follow the trail, see how big of an issue it is. It's a public service that you would be doing when you take the time to report it so we can help others. So those are really the two things, Bill, is just take away any embarrassment because it can happen to anyone. And it does. And then please report it because that we can help others.
Well, thank you. Those are two good points for people to remember and to practice in the event that they need to. Technology makes up so much of our world today. We can't live without it. But I want to know how has or does technology, like social media in particular, Lisa, impact how the Better Business Bureau functions in helping consumers to avoid becoming a scam or fraud victim?
Mm-hmm. Well, like most inventions, there are pluses and minuses. With social media, a lot of misinformation can get spread quickly, and a lot of wonderful, important information can get spread quickly. We see a lot of, on the scam side, we see a lot of scams, person-to-person scams happen a lot. Buying and selling one items to each other and romance scams. That's one ugly piece of social media where scams live. On the other hand, we can share information, scam alerts, and that's something BBB does regularly to let people know. And we do. People are welcome to sign up for BBB's social media pages. We put out, different scam of the month or scam alerts so people know what's hot and happening in their areas. We want people to be connected and share information. but the ability to be fake online is a persistent challenge for us.
Yes, we know that. We experience that so often. You know, we've been talking about how the Better Business Bureau works to protect the consumer from frauds and scams. But let's look at a different aspect of it. How does the Better Business Bureau benefit the business members by helping to protect them from fraud and scams?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple of pieces to that. Scams target business too. So we've done research, we do trainings, both for businesses and consumer audiences on how to spot, stop, and report the scams. There are a lot of business scams relating to fake email messages from a pretend CEO telling you to give XYZ information, and people are emailing it, and it's private information. There's even utility scams where, I'll just use restaurants as an example. They get scammed. Someone says, we're going to turn off your utilities because you didn't pay this, this, or this. Then in a panic, they pay to make sure that their equipment continues to run. So we just spend a lot of time with businesses doing some coaching on what to look for, how to protect themselves. So that is a big piece of how we protect businesses too. And really for everybody, it's all about trust. Scams pull down the reputation of businesses too. If they are being used as an imposter, or someone is pretending to be a legitimate business, which happens frequently, the reputation of the legitimate business is in jeopardy. So that's, one of the effects. And then, consumers too, we want legitimate money to flow in the marketplace and help the economy, and scams undermine that.
We have a terrific discussion going on here, Lisa. It's just fascinating and very informative, but we're coming to the close of our program. If we look to the future, do you see the consumer education and service role of the Better Business Bureau expanding? And if so, how?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely do. The BBB is needed more than ever. People are always trying to find who they can trust in a legitimate marketplace. We have put more money, time, and effort into our staffing to help educate on fraud and help savvy consumers make smart education choices. So yeah, the need continues to grow, and we're happy to help serve that need.
Well, that's great to know that the commitment is there for the benefit of the consumer and the businesses. Our guest today has been Lisa Jemtrud of the Better Business Bureau of Minnesota and North Dakota. We've been discussing how the Better Business Bureau helps to protect consumers from scams and frauds. It's been a great guest to have you with us today. And thank you so much for sharing your experience and your knowledge with our viewers at Access to Democracy.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.